Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming back to my channel. It's Joanna. These are going to be your messages for the month of December 2018. I'm going to make this very quick because I myself don't like long intros. Please remember that these are general messages. My intent is to give you something to think about, something to look at from a different perspective in order to help you gain clarity and ultimately that you can become a more empowered you. So rather than focusing on predictions, I am focusing on what may come up for you in the month of December and how some of these situations will allow you to see certain things and perhaps to create certain things for yourself that you have not been able to before. So I always intend on giving you as much information as I can in order to help you evolve. And how you take that information and how you apply it, or if you even consider it, that is entirely up to you. What I would encourage you to do is to listen to it at the end of the month, because these messages are really limitless or timeless. There is really the principles that I ask to give can be applied to really any sign in any situation. So it is important for you to listen with an open heart and an open mind and see how it can help you. Of course, listening to the other signs may offer you more guidance, and above all, don't take anything that I say as gospel. Listen with your heart and allow yourself to feel whether it resonates with you or not. Sometimes I will say things that may trigger you. If that happens, it's a good indication that something inside of you is wanting to say something. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Also, if you are interested in a Uranus projections, it's a 7-month projection. That information is down below on the Vimeo page. And let me see if there's anything else. Thank you, of course, always for watching, for sharing, for subscribing, and for private sessions, if that is what you wish. That information is down below. Thank you again so much. Have yourself a wonderful holiday season if you are practicing it or if you are celebrating it. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Bye. Hello, beautiful Geminis. These are going to be your messages for the month of December 2018. And I feel many of you have had a difficult year. For some of you, it may have started as early as around May of 2017 or 2017, even as far as back as 2016. So may these messages help you find a different perspective so that you can see yourself differently and perhaps change your mind and the way you think, which will change, well, the rest of your future. I feel this big energy that wants to literally come through me to you, signifying that for a lot of you, there is a felt perception of a brand new beginning. Now, the brand new beginning may be structured in such a way that certain things will pop up in your life in order to help you, be more resilient. And there's a lot of, so what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of resistance that I'm feeling with many of you. This could be resistance to change. This could be resistance to accept what is happening. This could be resistance to something outside of you that you feel can't control, but is happening anyway. What I want to say here is that, and I believe there was I recorded 2 different messages for the sign of Gemini. And maybe that's why I feel this intensity, because I've never done that before. So perhaps this is a continuation of what Gemini was meant to you last month. Point is, the idea of transition, which I feel like I've said this to you before, but in all fairness, I have said this to every single sign, because we are all going through a certain level of transition. And if you are listening to anything of this nature, it is because you are trying to seek answers. You are trying to seek guidance to something that may not be working for you necessarily. The number 5 symbolized to me May, and yes, I believe you guys have birthdays in May, so this may hit most of you who are born in May, or it may also symbolize May is an important month for you for some other reason. In addition to that, because you are going through an expansion period, which is also transitions. 5 indicates to me a number of change. And for some of you, the change is quite profound. You are moving on, existing one way, and changing completely into somebody very different. This may mean for many of you that you are choosing to express your individual needs in a very different way, professionally speaking. For some of you, this is something that was quote unquote forced upon you, for lack of a better word, whereby certain conditions have come together in order to help you realize what you have been before can be no longer. And that can be very frightening to an ego which is based on safety and security. So when it knows what to expect, it feels okay. Point is that you are going through transitions, which implies there are changes upon you, and there are choices, many choices, as a matter of fact, for many of you, that need to be made in the next several months, for some of you, 2 years. A lot of these have to do with choices around decisions around work and how to make money. For some of you, this is going to be education. For some of you, this is going to be in a relationship area. Point is, many of you are shifting the way you are expressing your individual self. So the word that came to me for you, or the phrase, was restoring faith. And when I felt that, I just felt this, I literally felt like I was blessed. I got this wave of energy, blast of energy, thank you, that just hit me in the chest, that made me go, I'm going to be okay. So if you have been struggling for quite some time, if life has not been smiling upon you based on your experience, I feel many of you will be turning away from feeling that way as a result of changing and shifting yourself, or as a result of life shifting things for you, and therefore you shifting your focus going forward. So restoring faith is a beautiful message, because it also symbolizes to me the idea of a star. Bright star, reach for the star. It's rebirth, it's renewal. Well, it's restoring of faith, and I believe maybe that's what the star tarot card indicates. For those of you who don't know me, I'm not a great tarot reader. I'm a terrible reader, as a matter of fact. I give messages. Anyway, back to you. So for those of you who have been feeling that your ground has been shaky for a while, particularly financially speaking, for some of you it is with relationships, for some of you it's just a general feeling that something is not okay. I feel like in the next few months or so, and again the number 5 is coming up, so either within the next 5 weeks, the next 5 months, or around the month of May, which would be the brand new beginning cycle year for you, you can expect to see feasible difference, feasible manifestation of your change. So what that may mean in plain English is, some of you may find a brand new job, or you land on a brand new career. Some of you decide to move to the next level in your relationship. Some of you decide to move out of a relationship. Some of you will have a fundamental shift where you work, how you work, who you choose to work for, and all of the above. So there are some pretty strong indications that for many of you, big changes are happening in areas that mean the most to you. So it's work, it's health, it's relationship. And I'm being asked to say it's for the positive sign. It's for the positive. So if you're wondering, oh my God, are things going to get worse? The answer is no. The answer is, for most of you, no. And I hope it's for all of you, no. But I do feel that many of you have struggled a lot. I see your mind being very preoccupied, filled with fears coming from your past. It's almost as if things are bubbling up into the surface in order to help you do something with it, so that you don't have to drag it with you moving forward. Because we are everything that we are, do, and experience and attract is based on how we are conditioned to see ourselves and therefore think of the world. So I feel like a lot of you are undergoing what almost could be classified as a brain surgery, mind surgery, where maybe literally some of you had brain surgery. I mean, who knows? Chances are it's not very many of you, and I hope it's none, because it's generally not something for good reasons. But point is, it is as if you are being rewired, and this is required in order to help you achieve what you want. So we all have beautiful plans. We all have these magnificent ideas, yet most of us don't understand how we function on a subconscious level, and therefore reaching those goals and those ideas may prove to be difficult, because underneath of what we can see, there is something in our belief system that says we can't. Now, I always say none of it is logical. Most of it is not even conscious awareness. But chances are, if you've been struggling with something for quite some time, there's a reason for the struggle. So, what else did I write here? I also saw that you were finding, this was an interesting metaphor, because I was seeing a pivot point, and I was trying to tune into what that message, what the message was, and it felt to me that for many of you, emotionally speaking, you will understand what is the point inside of you that pivots. And when this was coming to me that way, I actually asked my team, I said, are they going to understand what it means? And I'm clearly hearing them say, those who need to hear it will understand it right away. So if that statement makes no sense to you, don't worry about it. Chances are, if this is for you, it'll hit you like a ton of bricks. But emotionally speaking, you are finding, or at least trying to find, your balancing point. In other words, it's that center inside of you. It's that space inside of you. It's that place inside of you that is balanced. And we're all pulled in different directions, which make us often feel very unbalanced, which is anxiety, depression, all those things. And I feel many of you are achieving, through very hard work, your hard work on yourself, the space where you find what that balance is for you. Once you find that space, life is easier to continue with, because you are more, believe it or not, in control, right? When we have all these emotions dragging us in different directions, we feel out of control. Anything else? So the pivot point, the pivot point. Now, I also saw that many of you were writing about what you have experienced in the past, and also what you are currently experiencing. For some of you, there is literally a novel that's trying to come out of you. For some of you, it is a science fiction based on an idea you dreamt about. For some of you, this is literally like an autobiography where you decide to share your pain with the world in order to help others achieve what you are trying to achieve. And for many of you, this is around the area of acceptance. It's acceptance. That's the word I want to use. So I will invite you, if you're listening, to look at some of those things in your life that are giving you emotional trouble, and notice, when you break it down, what it's really all about for you. For example, if you are in a significant relationship and you always fight, notice what the theme is that you are fighting about. Chances are these are triggers that are being poked, and you are reacting to them without even knowing the real reason why. And appropriately so, this is being mentioned because we are coming to an end of a year. And symbolically, it represents letting go of the old so the new can come in. When the new can come in, it shifts our perception, which shifts our vibration, which shifts the way we perceive and achieve. In other words, it's time for change. And no better time like now, at the end of a year, where many, traditionally speaking, ideas are being planted. People make lists, what they want to achieve for the next year. This is a good time to start looking at examining your emotional self and decide if there are some things about you you might want to leave behind. Okay? These are all fears we're talking about. Now, what is the theme for December? Appropriately so. We have solitude. Again, I feel like this energy is trying to just pop out of me. But if this is how you feel, that means you're not there yet, which means you're not ready for whatever reason. So, month of December, I would suggest, although I don't like to use that word, what this is saying here is month of December would be a good month for you to be still, to retreat from the busy world, to retreat from trying to make things happen, and just allow yourself to sit for a while and contemplate on what it is that you really truly want. And example is being given here. If you are wanting so desperately to become a somebody, what is it about you that makes you believe you're not that now? And that's an important distinction. Why? Because, well, nothing on the outside can really give us what comes from inside. It not only temporarily, not forever. So allow the month of December to be a bit of a month of inventory taking with respect to you, your life, looking back, looking at now, looking at your future, deciding if what you're trying to create is matching what you've learned in the past, and allow yourself to see things accordingly. The next message you have, so solitude is very important, contemplation. You have unexpected visitors, and it's coming in this protection. So what this is saying to me is that, yes, in fact, there are some situations in your life that may come unexpected, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're negative. As a matter of fact, it is the unexpected, it's the surprise element that's the biggest thing than what follows it. In other words, if something seemingly challenging is happening in December, it is most likely because something is to come out of it on a positive end, except you can't see it now, okay? Which is interesting because it's very similar energy to a tower, and you did draw a tower, but this tower showed up in a reverse position, which means yes, there are absolutely changes happening in your life. However, it feels like you are able to manage it. It's not taking you by surprise so much. So I want to say expect the best. I said, what are some of the things that they'll be working on emotionally speaking? Hive mind is a message that denotes to me that there is a tendency to think of yourself as a separate individual. And the idea of separateness creates an illusion of disconnection. In other words, if we feel, I'm going to give an example. If we feel that we are very special, by the virtue of what that means, we are separating ourselves from the rest, and we create a separation. So it's an interesting thing that they're talking about, because it can be looked at several ways, and just like anything, it has its positive and negative sides. What's being addressed here is that you need to think in terms of inclusion versus exclusion when it comes to how you see yourself. And I'm supposed to not over elaborate on this, because it is meant to sink in with you and you extract from it what you need. So each message, each person will take this slightly differently, but just listen to it again and feel what the message is. There's a feeling of separateness, aloneness, segregation, and whether it's done because for segregation, and that is because of how you feel about yourself. And segregation brings, well, loneliness, aloneness, separation, feelings generally that we don't want. So I'm going to let that go, because I feel like it's a big message that's trying to unfold. So each one of you will see this differently. However, moving on, the card of protectiveness. So, when I talk about the separateness and I talk about protectiveness, notice if when you see yourself as separate, if you're not doing it for reasons to protect yourself, generally that is what happens. We create an illusion that we live in, and that illusion is preventing us from certain things we don't want to feel. And I'm being asked to give an example. Let's say you're someone who believes no one understands you. No one understands you. And doesn't matter who you talk to, it's just you get exasperated. It's like, people can't see me, people can't see me. And there's obviously going to be a level of frustration with this. And the reason why you do it is because you're actually trying to keep yourself separate from other people. Because for whatever reason, inclusion to you equals pain. So in this experience, you may have experienced having a brutally difficult parent who was excessively rigid with the way they spoke to you. They showed perhaps no emotion. They made you feel very small, not heard. That made you feel very isolated and very lonely. And you've experienced this over time, and you've learned that this is the state to be in. In other words, your filters for life are separateness. I'm hoping I'm making sense, because this is getting really deep here. So the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of the times we do things because we are trying to protect ourselves. So notice, what are some of the things that are being eliminated from your life? And notice how you use those things or people in order to protect your sense of vulnerability. Okay? Perhaps you hide behind a mask. Perhaps you hide behind a relationship. Perhaps you hide your feelings and you're much more analytical. There's various ways we do this. Point is, every single one of us has it. It's just to what degree it affects us in a negative way, or not a way that you want. So look at some of the things, how you protect yourself, your vulnerability. And maybe you feel you're not good enough deep inside, and you are going to protect yourself from showing it to the world. Well, because if the world sees you as not being good enough, they're more likely to reject you, or so you think, so you believe. That is your belief system. And no surprise, balanced relationships comes in. So notice the number 8 and 8. That's the first thing that I noticed. 8 is strength. You have double strength here. What this is telling me is, for some of you, 8 years ago, something happened 8 years ago, where the pivot went to the side. In other words, the pivoting point where it went one way. Something made you feel very imbalanced, or you fell off balance. It's like you fell off the horse. Maybe some of you fell off the horse. Point is, the number 8 here represents stability and strength. So this talks about relationships, yes, but this is more about relationship with yourself. How do you relate to you? How do you see yourself? Do you have a balanced view of yourself, or do you skew yourself one way or drastically in another direction? That would take you to a place of isolation or of separateness. It is also addressing what is out of balance in your environment. Is your thinking out of balance? Is it based predominantly on fears? Is this creating choices and decisions in your life that you generally don't like the outcome of, but because this is how you're wired, you can't see it any different? Remember, the next several months are months of transition into a new way of thinking, and the restoring faith comes as a result of you having that moment of understanding that life is going to be okay again. Something shifts. The sun in reverse tells me that there is momentary lack of clarity. However, sun to me can come up in various positions, even sideways. To me, it's a good omen or a good sign. But it does indicate to me that you may feel slightly clouded. It is also why I am being reminded that the month of December is a month that is appropriate for contemplation, and perhaps for that reason, because you are not able to see very clearly. Generally, when this happens, it's because things are happening in our life, and as a result, it's creating a bit of a confusion in our mind. So, time for meditation in the month of December. Anytime is a good time, but this is important. And for a lot of you, it's to do with work. I will tell you that much. I just got a pain in my shoulder or in my neck. So to me, this indicates some of you are stressed and the timing is stressing you out. So you may have put this pressure on you that you're too old. I'm too old for this. I'm not going to be able to get it in time. However time limits you, notice if that's part of your pattern. For you are never too old to start again. That's the whole point. We have starts through our lives. Good news here. All of it is good news as far as I'm concerned. 8 of Wands is a swift movement. It's another 8. So there's a lot of 8s that you have. To me, it's all about structure, strength, organization, mind control, not controlling people's mind, but having control of your mind, having control of your thoughts, but not being rigid. There is a difference. There's a massive difference. When we have rigid thoughts, we create boxes for ourselves, which are very hard to get out of. The more we open ourselves up to different way of thinking, the less we get boxed in a relationship, in a job, and in life in general. So this is a huge, wonderful sign for you to know at the end of this that a lot of you, if this is to do with work or career, all these changes are happening because you're meant to go in a different direction. You are perhaps meant to reconsider some things that you thought were really, really important, but then you realize that really, if you really think about it, they're really important only because you're trying to protect yourself, but it's not really who you are. So, or you did it because you needed to wear a mask. The 8 of Pentacles, again another 8, is an indication that it's you working on your craft, you working hard, you perfecting your skill. Many of you that I'm talking to are naturally born leaders. However, I feel that most of you don't naturally feel like a leader or have not felt like a leader from the very beginning. So it's a skill that you are moving into naturally because it's part of the bigger plan. It also means that many of you are meant to be seen and are meant to be heard, but not necessarily to prove a point, because that segregates people. It's me versus you. It's about creating an awareness without judgment. In other words, it's allowing information to come through you for the benefit of others, but not structure it in such a way that it creates boxes again. I hope this is going to make sense. I feel intuitively a lot of you will know what I'm saying. I'm feeling this information as I'm trying my best to put it into words. If you have been letting go of things for the last several months or years, there's a very good reason for it. You are clearing the slate for good things to come into your life. Yes, they may appear different than what you have originally thought. However, just because it appears different does not mean that it isn't as satisfying. As a matter of fact, it will most likely be more satisfying than you can possibly think of. Always remember, when we have a rigid way of thinking, we only think in that box. Well, what if what we're supposed to do is outside of that parameter? You're never going to get it, right? So you have to let go of the rigid way of thinking. And Our thinking is based on our belief. What we believe, we will achieve. And with that, I feel I want to leave this with you. Sounds like an exciting month. I am very excited for you. I wish you wonderful holidays, whatever you are experiencing, whatever you are celebrating. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself. If this makes sense to you, please comment. I read every single one. Above all, my intention is always to give you information and tools to help you see things in a way that will profoundly eventually change you for a stronger person. So that is always my intent. Listen to it with your heart more so than with your head. And what that means is that all the information that is presented can be applied to any area of one's life. So be creative and see how it applies to you, for I'm merely giving you the tools. Okay? Stay balanced, stay focused on you. And if you would like a private session, that information is down below for you. I wish you best of luck and take care.